Well, my district depends upon water and the tourism generated by water for its economic base. We have no oil and no gas. Of course, many of my colleagues in the legislature, particularly in the last few years, have been experiencing issues with drought, while those of us in eastern Oklahoma, our reservoirs have remained full. We begin talking about, man, I wish I could transport some of that water out to your area. And that's where things kind of got started.
So there's a lot of controversy between parts of our state and other entities in our state when it comes to moving water. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there are a lot of issues that would have to be worked out, particularly tribal issues in the state. But the tribes, in the 11 years I've been in the legislature, I've seen ever increasing cooperation and working together between the state and the tribes. So I hope that those issues can be worked out. At least everyone seems to be willing to get in the same room and start the discussion, and that's where compromise begins.
Okay, so tell us about your plan. What's your solution for developing Oklahoma's water?
Well, my solution involves capturing excess water from eastern Oklahoma. And by excess, I mean water that is sent over our spillways without generating electricity or being sold for consumption or industrial use. We get rid of an ocean of water every year over those spillways and just send it downstream. My idea is to capture it, pipeline it through the rest of the state, placing the pipelines under present utility easements or highway easements, and treating that water at various points along the way and then dispensing it to our communities for consumption. The problem that we have is the cost of treating our water, particularly due to increasing federal regulations, has outstripped the capacity of our small communities and rural water districts. And so it's going to be much cheaper for them to purchase treated water, excess eastern Oklahoma water, so that they can spend their money on needed infrastructure improvements on their water systems.
Okay, so speaking of cost, how do you plan on paying for this plan?
Probably the easiest way would be to issue bonds and then use the proceeds from the sale of treated water to make the bond payments. My plan would require storage facilities to be built, and I envision that as primarily tank farms, similar to what we have in Cushing for the oil industry, tank storage facilities dispersed throughout the state of Oklahoma. Small water treatment facilities dispersed throughout the state of Oklahoma to dispense that treated water to the communities. Other possibilities including using the aquifer to pump the water, raw water into the aquifer and then pumping it out later, or constructing new reservoirs.
So you've presented this plan on the legislative floor this summer as an interim study. What's your next step? How do we take action on this plan?
Well, I think as the federal government continues to increase treatment regulations and the cost continues to go up and up and up, that we'll have to start looking at such plans by necessity to help our communities and rural water districts. So I hope that I've planted the seed of thought. I've raised a lot of questions. I'm terming out this session, but hopefully someone will pick up the idea and move it forward.
And can you explain how this will help farmers and ranchers, maybe indirectly or directly?
Well, I started out looking at agriculture, but quickly realized that one of the real issues was for our small communities and rural water districts, the high cost of treating drinking water and the resultant increase in water bills. We have so many rural water districts with very few customers that they simply cannot spread that cost out without exorbitant increases. So I kind of shifted the focus of my study to drinking water. The only difference between drinking water and water for agriculture is you would bypass the treatment plants. The basic transportation and storage of the water would not change.